All right. Well, my name's Bree. I use she, her pronouns, and I work in the Office of Alumni Relations. I am also a Champlain alum myself from the class of 21. And today I am very excited to welcome fellow alum Nadine Jones to be our guest speaker for today's Lunch and Learn, which is going to be on retirement planning. As a early career professional myself, this is a topic that I know personally I could use some more information on. It's a little bit daunting to see all the different options that are presented, and so I think even just getting some high level intel is going to be really helpful. A little rundown of the session today, my brief little welcome, and then I'll introduce Nadine, pass off the presentation for majority of the time, and then we will have time for Q&A at the end. You're welcome to drop Q&As throughout, and then we'll make sure to get to those at the end of the presentation. A little bit about Nadine. So like I mentioned, Nadine recently graduated Champlain and was very active on campus, from a Champ 101 facilitator to a financial peer coach. And I believe Nadine also like owned her own business. So a lot of background and experience here. Very excited to have her joining us today. And without further ado, I will hand it off and we can get things going. Oh, so let me stop sharing my screen.
Hopefully you guys don't hear all banging in my background. Thank you for that introduction, Deanna. Um, as I'm putting up the presentation and making sure everything looks cute and set up for you guys. Just a little bit of background. Like Brianna said, I did focus a lot on BIPOC communities and financial literacy for BIPOC communities. That was a really big focus. And here I am at UNC Charlotte. I'll get into a little bit more about myself once I share my screen. And yeah, here on the screen. Okay, there. Okay, like that. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right. Sorry, my thing keeps messing up. Okay. So this is retirement for, ooh, did I want to put you here? I did not want to put you there. Okay. This is retirement basics for alumni, starting where you are, by me, myself, interim assistant director and under finances, once again at the University of North Carolina, Shirley. So some learning objectives that we want to get into that we'll take from today is defining the time value of money and compound interest. This will be very important. I'll explain the definitions to you guys as we go through the presentation. Second one is knowing the different types of retirement plans that are out there. For some of them, I might not get too specific into. And on my next couple of slides, I'll explain why. And then last and but not least is what to check for on your pay stubs and how to enroll, which will be very general, I will say. So a little bit of my background. I graduated from Champlain College in May 2025. And I took on a lot of social work roles. So I worked in homeless shelters. I also worked I worked on campus. I worked at the airport. I did a lot of different things. And a lot of people know me for doing different things. And this is why I was in school and all at the same time. But it was a really good, fun experience. So I got my bachelor's in integrated professional studies and I focused in finance, social work, and business admin. I now work at UNC Charlotte supporting students with financial literacy. I say that because I'm not here as a financial advisor. I'm here as someone who learned this material the same way as many of you guys are right now. So some expectations is that once again, this is educational, not financial advising. No one needs to share any personal numbers in the chat or like in this session. If you have questions, please write it down or put it in a chat. I will answer them during the Q&A session at the end. So if you have a burning question, definitely hold on to it and write it down if you can. Awesome. So my first question to you guys is, what three words comes to mind when you think about retirement? And I'll pause and give you guys some seconds to write down in the chat. For some people, they say freedom, or others it might be confusing or like far away. So I don't see anything as of yet, but whatever came up in your mind.
Oh yes, I forgot with the webinar,
Yeah.
they'll have to put it in the Q&A box, so the chat is only gonna be able to, so you can use the Q&A box like a chat for the purposes of this.
Okay. Gotcha. So whatever came up, that is actually let me see if I can find that Q&A box. Oh, I do. I
Folks have
see that.
said
Yeah.
Social Security, Medicare, 401k.
Okay. Awesome. I'm like, I can only type it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. So for whatever came up, that is that's your starting point. So you mentioned Social Security and Medicare, 401k. So it's identifying those things in the future and how that will come into play once you are retired. So retirement looks different for everyone. When would you like to retire is some of the questions that you probably want to ask yourself. What kind of activities are you planning? A lot of people have different varying answers. You can start pulling money out for your retirement starting at 59 and a half. For certain retirement accounts, it is required for you to start taking money out at 65. I get a lot of students that I meet here, and I also present to them like the basics of financial literacy. So we go over budgeting, we go over savings and investing, credit card management, all of that. And some of them say they want to retire at 40. And, I don't discourage them because with like a plan in mind and them starting to invest in themselves now, it is possible. It's just as long as you're being intentional and you're investing in the right accounts, that can lead you that way. So it can definitely look different for everyone. When we get into what kind of activities are you planning, you want to take the retirement and like really assess what your life would be like for a full year. And when you think of that full year, you also want to multiply it by like the next 20 years or 30 years. So if you are planning on retiring at 59 and a half, thinking about the next 40-ish years, so that's about when you're 90, then you can also think like, what will my expenses be if you already have a mortgage or you already have some ideas of a house that you want, thinking about what your rent will cost, your utilities, your groceries of that entire year, and then multiplying it by however many years you plan to live, which it really it sounds morbid, but in all reality, like you're just making sure that you're prepared for anything to happen. I think my boss, she was doing another retirement presentation like this one, and she has her life planned out until she's 98. So she's like, by 98, I need to pass away, or this money is going to be going to somebody because she has about 4 or 6 kids. So things like that, you probably want to start thinking about. And also, if you want to be a person that travels throughout the year, right? Taking cruises multiple times, then that's something you also want to plan for. And then another question that you want to ask yourself is, do you want to work part-time? So some people do take on the role of working part-time after they already retired, and that's totally fine. Some people are busybodies, and that's great. What that might look like is taking on just like a retail job. When I was in Vermont, I was working at the airport as a customer service agent. And a lot of them, they were retired. They were just taking on the flight benefits so they can travel freely throughout United States, and then also taking those discounted flights. internationally. And it worked out really well for them, especially for the ones that had grandchildren. So it was just a win-win for everyone. So those are some things that you might want to think of. Even with service work, even it's not like a work part-time, you're getting paid, but service is like, do you want to go help and support others? Recently, I've signed up to be a part of the Red Cross team in North Carolina. And so a lot of the new people that I was onboarding with, they were also of older age, and they have you kind of explain what made you come here, what made you want to do Red Cross, what was like one of the desires that you had. And a lot of it can be like, I'm retired and I want to be able to support my community in the best way that I can. So these are just some things to think about. But the point is that retirement isn't just stopping work, it's planning for the lifestyle that you want. And for stages of retirement planning. So now we're entering one of the most important parts of understanding retirement, which is the 3 stages of managing your money over your lifetime. Most people only think about like the first stage, and which is the accumulation of assets, where we're currently in our moment of working our current jobs. So we're saving our money from our jobs, we're investing it. Some of you guys might have 401ks already. Some of you guys might have a Roth IRA, and then others. But for retirement, you want to live comfortably. And through that, you have to go through all 3 stages as well. So getting into the first one, as I mentioned, saving and investing. This stage is most of us right now, and it's where you're earning income, saving money, and starting to invest for your future. The goal in this phase is simple, which is build wealth over time. So that is the accumulation of assets. Moving on to protection of assets, you kind of want to ask a question of, if I keep my money in this one account, it could be a one checking account, one savings account, or if it's in like a stock, you have only just invested in one stock, you want to ask yourself, will this money grow with the way that it's performing, with the interest rates that are on it? Those type of questions. If they're not answering the questions that you want for the goals you prefer in your retirement age or stage, then you need to reassess, like, maybe I can be more open to more accounts. Where else can I put my money and invest to see where I can grow more? Same thing going for stocks, same thing going for savings accounts, because there's not only just like the savings account that's attached to your checking. There is high yield savings account, there are CDs, there are money market accounts. So these are different ways where you can open up to diversifying your assets. So you have different money pools that you can pull in and see where it grows through different interest rates. And also for risk management, that's going to be super duper important, because risk management is just assessing, okay, if I keep it here, will it continue doing poorly and I'm losing money? Or if I wait until it gets to a certain amount, I can sell it for the amount that I bought it for. Or if it grows in profit, finally, it took forever, I can now sell it and make a profit and move it to somewhere else. So we want to make sure that we're thinking of the protection of our assets. And then distribution of assets. So moving on into that retirement season that you're going to be in and thinking about longevity, right? You want to make sure that the money is making ends meet and lasting. So mind you, I did say that you want to plan out the next 40 years of your life, basically, after retirement, and how your money will come into play with that. So every year, like once you set that amount for that year, that's what you're going to stick to. And it takes a lot of discipline, but you also want to make sure that when you actually do get the money, because a lot of people find out way too late on how to distribute their assets once they're getting their paychecks in. And sometimes they lose out like in 20 years or 10 years, but they're going to live longer. So a lot of them take on a job for them to actually help pay the bills, or some of them didn't actually make up enough for them to be able to sustain their life for the 5 or 10 years after they retire. So it's just really important to make sure when you're planning out your life in your whole year for the next 40 years after retirement, that you are making sure that that your money is going to last you. And then thinking about tax impact and bracket. So you really want to ask yourself, what tax bracket am I going to be during my retirement stage? Because you want to really think about taxes being taken out. And a lot of people say it's too hard to think about retirement. And you have to ask yourself, um, or not ask yourself, but you have to go through like different online portals. There's actually a link that I wanted to share that I forgot to put in my presentation, but it helps you see like what you're planning for if you were to save a certain amount of money, but then it also includes inflation because that is real. And I want to put that in there and, say that even if you do plan, you want to plan for inflation in case it's not the exact amount that you expected it to be. So you want to look at your tax impact in your tax bracket and how taxes will definitely take a toll on your retirement funds as you're pulling out. And also depending on the retirement account that you have when saving. So I will stop talking really quickly and let you guys answer. When it comes to planning for retirement, how would you describe yourself? You guys can put the letters instead of the whole thing, but A is being actively saving, which is cool. B is no idea where to start, which a lot of us are in sometimes. C, I'm too young, I have time. D, I've been learning. Or E, I think about it sometimes. Yeah, and also you can be a mix. So thank you, Natalie, for mentioning that because you definitely can be a mix. Yeah, actively saving, which is great. We love that. We really do try to aspire to actively save. We also want to make sure when we're actively saving that we're not putting ourselves like in a really tight situation in our current present because we want to make sure that we are able to sustain our lives. Usually when we're actively saving, we have a surplus amount from the income that we're getting and we're able to put something aside. When I meet with a lot of my clients to go over one-on-one coaching for financial literacy, see where their habits are, what they're aspiring to be, I tell them that when you're putting money into your Roth IRA or traditional or whatever, you want to make sure that that's money that you don't need ever as of right now, because that money is, once it's in there, it's hard for it to come out, or there'll be penalty fees. So a lot of the time I do express, like, even though you want to put money in your account, do you have the space to actually do that? And so I kind of just want them to think a little bit more on that. So actively saving is good. B, no idea where to start. And that is also really fair. Retirement can feel really complicated. And there's just so many like things incorporated, and there's so many changes in our economy that it's just like you never know what's going to be the final result of retirement. And D, I've been learning. That's good. Learning is our best way. Wait, did I touch on everything I wanted to say? I did. Okay, so for common retirement myths, so myth number one, a lot of people feel like I make too little to start. And I would like to say to people that feel like they make too little to start, $200, $20, it can really go a long way. And if you're starting in your 20s or in your 30s, thinking about 20, 30 years from now, like you consistently putting that amount in, it does add up, right? Even if you have to, put some costs, like, if you're eating, if you're an eater out, a person who eats out a lot, then, taking something from that away in your budget to, put towards this every month is something that can really go a long way. And like I mentioned, you can use estimators to see what the future outcome would look like if you started to put something away. And with that, I feel like it can help with encouragement. Like, okay, I see my finances, it's going to be up. I just need to suffer the cost right now. And I'm not saying to restrict yourself from not having any of your wants met, because we do want, the fruits of our labor. But I would say knowing when to cut back, having discipline, having like a certain amount that you're allotting yourself, and then a lot going to savings. And then myth number two is I'm too late. A lot of people feel like if they're already of an age that they're too late to start retiring. I just told my mom, because she is, I think, 48, 49. And I was having a talk with her about her budget. And I was like, Mom, you are 10 years away from retirement. What is the goal? What is the plan? You don't have that much time. And we'll get into how time is really important. So even if you are starting like late, like it can impact how much you will get in the risk in the end. But at the same time, it's better to start than never, right? And so that's kind of going to time value of money and compound interest. But we'll get into that. So I have a little activity. It is something that we use at Niner Finances, and it's basically to help understand like compound interest and the time value of money. So I'll do this. So looking at the time, got good time. Investor one, I usually name her. So today her name is Jill. And investor two, his name is Steve from Minecraft. So Jill starts at 25 and she sets aside $5,000 a year for 10 years in a row. She stops investing at the age of 34. So that's around here. Let's keep that in mind. And Steve from Minecraft, he starts at the age of 35. He invests 5,000 each year for 30 years in a row until reaching age 65. So this is, what's his name? Steve from Minecraft. So he starts here and he's ending here. And then Jill is starting here and she's ending right almost here, almost close to Steve. And just some important info. Assuming that it has an 8% interest rate and it's compounded annually, balances shown are approximate. So my question to you guys is, who do you think will have more by the age of 65? They'll be telling my secrets that I leave. Anybody else with the guess? And it's okay to be shy about this one, but I will move on for time's sake. So Natalie is correct. So investor investor one, what was her name? Jill. She starts at 25, sets a $5,000 a year for 10 years in a row. She stops investing at age 34. And I always repeat this again because it is super important. But Jill actually ends up making $175,000 more than Steve. Why did this happen? Oh, I totally forgot to edit that part. My bad. I'll explain compound interest though. Did I put time value of money the first time? Oh, I did. Okay. So compound interest is basically where you have interest growing on interest. So say you have $100 into a saving, into like a Roth IRA or something similar. And that Roth IRA has an 8% interest rate. So that was explained here. Or sorry, let's not say it has 8%. It'll mess up my numbers. But let's say that Roth IRA has a 10% interest rate. So you have $100, that's yours. You have a 10% interest rate in an account. You put the $100 in, and after that first year, your money actually goes into $110. So now you have $110 from having $100 and a 10% interest in an account. Now you have 110. On that second year, afterward, your money will then double more. So it still has that 10% interest rate, but now it's at 110 because that's how much money you've made in interest. It's $10. So now your money will be $121 and it just keeps growing and growing. What a lot of people use as an example that makes sense is a snowball effect. You have a little bit of a snowball, and then as it keeps rolling down a hill, it keeps growing and growing and being bigger. So compound interest is super important, and we want to make sure that we're using it properly. The way that we use it properly is investing early. So her investing 10 years before Steve did really helped her out, and she even stopped. And the money still kept growing, and that's because it was still being compounded annually. So time value of money is basically where time is showing that if you start investing early, your money will grow, and it will grow into multiple times the amount that you kind of put in, depending on the interest rate that's in the account and like market factors as well too. Um, I hope everyone understands that. If not, put a question in and I'll answer it during the Q&A. Another example to give you guys, you began investing at age 25. You put $200 a month in a tax-deferred retirement plan. Your plan earns 9%. Your friend begins investing at age 45. So now this is 20 years after you started investing. Your friend invests twice as much money as you, $400 a month. The investment plan and earnings are the same. So by the age of 65, you both will have invested 96,000. The reason why I want to say the difference between the first one and the second one is that the first one, they have different amounts that they put into investing. And their money grew at different, they had different amounts. This one is still the same amount, or not the same amount, but invested $96,000, where your investment would be worth $884,000 compared to your friend's investment would be worth $268,000. That 20 years of time totally took out the money that your friend could have made while you benefited off of $884,000. What did you do with $884,000? A lot. Down payment for a house or to buy a house outright, depending where you are. Multiple things. So just thinking about with retirement and how this applies to you, and if you're at a place with your finances where you can actually start putting away, $200 isn't crazy amount compared to having to think about $5,000 a year. But $200 a month is something that you could definitely start with. $20 a month is something you could definitely start with. If you have any additional money that you end up getting that you don't know where to put it into your investment. Your future you will definitely thank you later. So getting into retirement plans, just looking at time, make sure I'm good. I am a little bit of an overtalker. So individual plans such as traditional IRAs is where, sorry, how do I want to start? That's the question I want to ask myself. Okay, so for retirement plans, most people know the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. Traditional IRAs are kind of similar to a 401k as to where you are basically tax deferred, and you are, and whenever you get your paycheck, your money is then going into market, and it's growing at whatever the market rate is. And then eventually towards the end, you would have to take out the money, and then you have to pay on taxes. So tax deferred, which a lot of people love, but for Roth IRAs is where your money is coming out after tax. So say if you're looking at a gross versus a net pay, your net pay is what you're getting. And with that net pay, you then put the money into a Roth IRA. So then once you are retired, you don't have to think about taking out those taxes. Between both of these plans, you definitely, I think the withdrawal, you can start withdrawing at 59.5, and then at 65, it is required for you to start taking money out. It definitely do depend on the plan that you sign up with, but I know typically 65 is the age where you have to take out money. Employer sponsored plans, like 401ks. 401ks is where your employer can sometimes match with you. It doesn't happen all the time, but if your employer matches with you, then whatever you put in, they put that number in. It's kind of similar to a traditional where it's tax deferred. Towards the end, you get taxes taken out, and then getting into a defined benefit plan. So it's a plan that guarantees the employee a specific monthly payment in retirement based on a formula that is calculated on your employer's behalf. So usually the formula, it uses your years of service, salary history, and age at retirement. A lot of like faculty kind of see that in those plans where if they stay with the college for 10 years or something like that, then the college will then pay them this certain amount when they are retiring. So a little bit about the defined benefit plan is that this is more of like an old school pension. Think of it as a promise from the employer. When you retire, we will pay you X amount of money and for the rest of your life. The responsibility does lie more on the employer and not as much for you, which is good for you. And then moving on to defined contribution. Yeah, defined contribution plan. Employer funds the investment, and then investment decisions are made by the employer. So, wait, not that one, actually. Sorry, not that one. Defined contribution plans are more like a 401k, 403bs, which is nonprofit or educational institutions, 457s, be government and public employees. And these are the plans most of your audience will actually use. Instead of promising a set retirement income, employers provide a plan where you contribute the money, the employer may match, and then you decide how it's invested. So think of this as a DIY retirement account, but with powerful benefits. You contribute money from your paycheck. Your employer may add free money through a match, and you choose how to invest it. So that is the defined contribution plan. And then as for self-employed small business plans, I just kind of wanted to put that on your radar. I don't know everyone's background, but these are different investment retirement plans that you guys can look into. If you are self-employed and you have your own business. So I just want to get a little bit more into the traditional and the Roth IRA. Age to contribute for traditionals, anyone younger than 70 and a half. Roth IRA doesn't have any age restriction. Tax implication, traditional IRA, tax deductible, like we mentioned. And then for withdrawal, it's taxed. And then for Roth IRA, it's tax-free. And withdrawals 59 and a half, and required withdrawals at age 70 and a half. No mandatory withdrawals. So keep that in mind as well. And then I just put an employee, like a fake employee pay stub, which is I put an employee pay stub, so it has a fake company, fake employee name, ID number. I just kind of want to go over the importance of looking at like the deductions page. When you are looking at your pay stub, this is where you can tell what you are contributing. If you do have a 401k, it'll kind of show you here on how much you're contributing. You want to make sure that number is accurate. And if you see something that's not on there, then you can definitely make sure to let your HR know. And they'll send you like communications and information on what specific amount supposed to be like there. For example, when I was looking at my pay stubs, I wanted like a 403b account, because that's what they would provide here at UNC Charlotte. And so I was like, hey, I want to start investing in this. I'm not investing in this, but I want to like save some money for that in my paycheck. And they gave me a link and I just had to fill it out and give it back to them. So a little bit on how to enroll in programs. This can definitely vary. I don't want to be too specific because it could differentiate depending on who your employer is, but check your pay stubs for benefit codes or contributions because you probably already signed up for some. I will say that my boss was working with one of our student employees that graduated, and he found out that he was actually paying so much towards his retirement that he was missing out on like his actual bills, but he didn't know that why his check was feeling really shortchanged. And once they figured that out, because I think she said he was giving about like $2,000, $3,000 to his retirement account, because he just, when he was signing the papers and for the onboarding process, he was just putting maximum. Want to make sure that you are enjoying life as well. So I would say log into your HR or benefits portal because usually a company will have that. You can choose your contribution rate and you can pick your investment options or default target date funds. So basically, like I want to make this, I want to like aim towards this goal by this certain date. So you can use that to help structure that. Another thing that I want to include is that besides the employer matches or checking what HR provides you, you can also go to like different investment companies like Fidelity, where you can tell them I want to open up a Roth, and you can like look at the different options that they have available for you, and ask for like more guidance and instruction on like what you can invest in or how they can have somebody help you with investing. Because Roth IRAs are generally on how you decide to invest your retirement money in whatever market fund account. And so just want to keep that in mind. 4, 5, revisit this yearly or when your income changes. You definitely want to make sure that everything is still aligning because you're definitely your income can definitely change, and you don't want to have something that's auto pay or auto rolling over into something else and you can't match that amount anymore, and you have like your bills increase, like say you take on different responsibilities, you have a kid, or you have like different things that alter what your original income changes were. Just to plug in, budgeting is really important. I didn't ask if anybody has a budget, but I am totally a big supporter of a budget. So you want to make sure that when you are looking at your budget and that everything is still aligning, that's where you can catch those faults. But yeah, it's super important. Moving a little bit into the end, early too. Sorry, Brianna. I thought this presentation would be longer. What is your one actionable takeaway from today? I know I threw so much at you guys, but you guys are gonna do awesome. And even if I can't answer one like a question that is asked in the Q&A, I would definitely say research and I think I included my email, and if not, I'll just put it in the chat as well. You can message me. Okay, ask your job if they have a 401k option. And if they don't have a 401k option, you can also ask if they have 403b. You can also ask if they have, sorry, I'm going back in my notes so I can say the right words, right things. 403b, 457b. Those are some different options. I'm currently interim right now, so I'm interim assistant director at Niner Finances. So there's some things that they allow for their full-time employees that they don't allow for their part-time-ish employees or temporary employees, I should say. So like a 403b is something that I would go for because of my status, but yeah, definitely ask for those questions. So if any of you guys are, how should I say, if any of you guys are temporary employees, see if there's something for you as well. Awesome. Any other actionable takeaways from today?
I know I got to look at my pay stub more.
Definitely, it is important. Because you also want to know what's in there, what's going on. Because there's moments from like check is looking a little light. There's something different. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I signed up for that. That was my problem. My job made a Vermont savings account for me, and I'm contributing to that, but I'm not sure if that's a Roth or a traditional. A Vermont savings account. It's the first that I heard of it. I'm doing a quick Google searchy for you. It's a new retirement savings program. It doesn't really specify. It could be either. I think you might just have to actually contact them, Natalie, and ask which one it is. Because a lot of the times I have to do that as well. So moving on into my Q&A session, I guess 10 minutes early. If you have questions, definitely ask. So yes, my yeah. I would ask Vermont Saves what type of account it is. Can you have multiple accounts, or do you need to pick a Roth or traditional and stick with it? You can have multiple accounts. You definitely can have multiple accounts. If you had a 401k, you can have a Roth. You can have a traditional and a Roth IRA as well. Let me double check. I don't want to be lying, but from my memory, I believe. Oh. Yes, you can contribute to both. There is certain contribution like limits. So I know for certain accounts you can't contribute more than 7,000 into an account. So it's just keeping that in mind. So you don't have to pick between. But also, that's if you have like I really want to like say like and focus on if you have a surplus amount, you want to make sure that okay, I can actually contribute this compared to like, am I breaking bank trying to put in money for savings? Cool. Any other questions? Looking at my investment options. When looking at my investment options, they ask what market I want to invest in based on the current economy and also ethical reasons. I don't want to invest in S&P 500. Is that okay? I was thinking about international stocks, but that seems very risky. So this ain't me providing advice or anything. Educational purposes, you don't have to invest in the S&P 500. There are plenty other accounts, market fund accounts that you can invest with multiple companies. It's really just looking at the performance of them, doing research, and like I want to mention again, if you see an account or see a stock that is underperforming, do not sell it. If you already own it, right? Do not sell it. Definitely wait until it gets back to the amount that you spent for you to get that stock, or wait until it grows in profit and then sell it, so you can also make some money from that. But you don't want to sell it when you're at a loss. Yeah, there is it's really kind of hard to say right now in the investment world, because it's just a lot of different things going on. Like I don't really want to touch anything for my investments until I get to a certain point where I can like, okay, things are calming down. You also don't want to do a thing where people are selling when they feel like the world is ending, or there's like really something bad that's about to happen. It moves into a moment of greed and fear, where everything can shift the market based off of like all these people that are believing that the market will do X, Y, and Z. So you don't want to be moved off of that. You don't want to be moved off of the emotions of others, but you want to be moved off of the actual facts and where it could actually lead to, because that's how a lot of people get caught up with their investments. They will sell as soon as possible when they see other people jumping ship. And I'm not going to say like sometimes jumping ship was fine for people, because that particular stock or company was heading to a really bad, downfall. But a lot of the times too, you just want to make sure that you're moving off of facts and what's actually going on when you're looking at the numbers and the consistency. How many different stocks would you recommend for educational purposes? Investing in for diversification? Right now, it's 100% in the default, but I was curious what percentage should be in different stocks. It's not even really just on educational purposes, but it really is up to you. You just don't want to have all your money in one thing, though. Like I said, if something is underperforming, then you know that you are relying in this other thing that's performing well. So you have that balance. There's not really any specific way. It's really up to you. to go more specific into diversification, when you're thinking about things other than investing and you're thinking about a savings account, I mean, with a lot of students that have only just one savings account, and usually it's the one that's connected to their checkings account. And what we like to tell them is that your savings account that's attached to your checkings account doesn't always have the best interest rate. So sometimes they can be 0.01%. And that's only like 10 cents that you get added on every year. Where a high yield savings account or something with a higher interest rate, like a money market, or one of the one of those where you can have more in interest. So we want to make sure that when we are looking at like interest rates for saving, it's between about 4 to 5%. I know right now markets, the market interest rates are kind of low, so it's usually about 3.5, 3% that I was seeing for a lot of high yield savings accounts. But a high yield savings account really just, how should I explain this? A high yield savings account just acts as a savings account. A lot of the times they're online banks. They high yield savings account do. They have a higher interest and you gain that, compared to a money market, where a money market account is different from a money market fund. Money market account is FDIC insured. But a money market account, they can provide high interest rates like a high yield savings account, but it has a debit card and it has a checking account as well. CDs are something that you can invest in to diversify your saving funds. So CDs are certificate of deposits. They have a fixed interest rate. So no matter what's going on in the market and if things are going up and down, the CD is locked in on a specific interest rate, and that will continue to do its thing when you put in like $100, or sometimes it's $500. It's whatever it's required for you to open up that account. And you can set that up for 3 months, 6 months, a year, or 2 years. Once you set up that account, it's locked in and you kind of don't touch it. If you do, penalty fees happen, similar to a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA where you try to pull money out of it early. That kind of happens. Also, because it came up to mind, if you have a 401k and with an employer and then you change employers, you want to make sure that you are how do I say, I'm sorry, I looked at the chat and I lost my train of thought. Oh, you want to make sure that when you are finished with that employer that it's rolling over. When I worked for the airport, for the time I was at Champlain, I had like a $700 like 401k from them, and I was like, cool. And I guess I didn't do anything in time, and what happened? I saw like on my account it said that the money's being forwarded to you through mail. And I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, well, to get this $700 check. And because I didn't act on it, because sometimes investment companies will do that too. But because I didn't act on it, literally, they just ended up taking taxes out. And all I was left with was $50. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we want to make sure that you're moving money over into your rollover, and not footing the costs of penalty fees and taxes, because that's not fun. Good high yield savings interest rate. I've only found online banks, but I'm skeptical to trust online banks. I would say that it is hard for you to find a high yield savings account without an online bank being attached to it. A lot of banks really don't do like in-person banks that you walk into don't really do high yield savings account. So yeah, a lot of them are online, and I will say that they are trusted. I would say just do your research, look at like the type of person they are, look at the reviews. I can definitely, if I search up high yield savings, I'll answer your other question too, but give me a second. High yield savings options. Okay, going off of what I see here, like a lot of my students here, they've used I've had students use SoFi, Everbank, and where's the other one? There's one that's called, it starts with an S. It's so weird that they're not up here. Oh, it's not a start. It doesn't start with S. It starts with an A. It's called Ally Bank. So like those are not ones that I recommend, but I've heard or I've seen other students of mine use those type of banks. Usually Ally Bank, they do this thing called um saving buckets. So even though you're putting all your money in there, they have you like divide your money into like what savings goal you have. So there is options like that. A lot of them prioritize when they're marketing, they prioritize their annual percentage rate. They prioritize, or not annual percentage rate, but annual percentage yield, that'll be it. What else they like no minimum start. Like you can definitely just deposit whatever much money. For money market accounts, you do usually have to put a minimum of a certain amount. And it's usually having to be a certain amount that has to be kept in there. So it could be like 250, it could be 1,000. So it all really depends on the bank. Do you know any good ETFs that are ethically minded? I do not. I do not. And for example, one that has B Corps, not really. I'm sorry I can't provide that. But I would definitely just research YouTube, and sounds crazy, but like a trusted like social media investment person. The only thing when you're looking online, you just want to be aware about someone who's being real and someone who's being paid to say certain things. So you just want to make sure that when you're looking into different people's reviews on certain accounts, that you're looking at other people like in the comments or something like that, that's giving you like, okay, this is what my experience was compared to what he's like lying and saying. You want to just make sure to be very much mindful about that. Same thing goes for websites, like websites that are like, here's the best account, here's the best blah blah blah. A lot of the times those can be paid, and sometimes they'll mention in really small font like, hey, this was like encouraged by like money or some type of like disclaimer they'll have when they're talking about the best. And usually people pay for them to be listed at the top of that list. So I would just be careful. Yeah, it is a lot of controlling information on social media, unfortunately. We just have to really use our judgment and go off of gut feeling. Because that's definitely helped me in the past. Awesome. Anything from you, JT or Michelle? Thank you so much, Natalie, for answering asking all those good questions. Those are fun. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Brianna, take it away.
Awesome. Just gonna share with folks that you'll be receiving an email, everyone who registered, with the recording and the slide deck, and then also a link to a feedback form, which is always really helpful to hear about for this session and also what people are interested in learning about for future Lunch and Learns. And lastly, just thank you to Nadine for joining us. We also have another session with Nadine in February, which will be on student loan debt and management. So very excited for that one. I think that will be a pretty hot topic for us. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a good weekend with Friday coming up. And thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And also I included my email. I don't know if you guys can see it. How should I put this? Should I put it in chat? Oh, I forgot there's a chat.
If you add it in the slide deck, then they'll have the slide deck when I send the email, so that'll work.
Oh, okay, I'll add it in there. Okay, cool. So yeah, definitely reach out, use my email if you guys need to. And I can see what I can answer. Cool.
Thanks so much. Have a great one.
You as well.